Apps High School Football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
Hand and built leather goods. Leather goods built for life. Made by hand in the USA, all goods are made with veg-tanned leather. Some of the best quality around and made by a U.S. veteran. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.
Everybody to Sports on Tap. This is our high school football recap show presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance, located in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Make sure you give Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance a call for a quote on your home, auto, and life insurance needs. We thank Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance, along with Troutland Entertainment and RRT Productions, for sponsoring our high school football recap show. Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance also is the sponsor for our Player of the Week contest, which we will reveal the Week 3 Player of the Week nominees and the winners later on in tonight's show. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, and Dr. Hoops, Noah Jacobson. Josh Jeffy is out on assignment. It's actually a pretty important assignment.
I was about to say, yeah.
For those who live in the Brunswick area, it's a very important assignment he's on. So good luck to him and the rest of his colleagues in their endeavors tonight. You're watching this live on our YouTube channel at Sports on Tap. Make sure you like and follow us. Hit the subscribe button. Get the notifications. We are about to go on the air. We are also on Facebook at Sports on Tap. We are on X/Twitter at SOT Podcast. Make sure you follow us to get all the updates of our live recaps and our live updates and in our featured game of the weeks. We had 4 of them this past week that we'll go over tonight. We're also on Threads at SOT_podcast. And of course, our website is sportsontap.podcast.com. And any questions, comments, suggestions, pronunciations, send those to sportsontap@gmail.com. This is week 3, the week 3 recaps, the final week of non-conference play for the majority of our teams. Usually it works out pretty well with how the conferences have settled out. The Greater Cleveland Conference is the only conference now that doesn't have an eighth team, but that will change next year when Lorraine leaves the Lake Erie League and comes to the Greater Cleveland Conference. So they'll be back up at 8 teams themselves, and we'll have a pretty even spread there from week 4 all the way through week 10. We had four games that were covered this week by the guys, and they really put some work in. Those of you that were outside Friday nights realized that it wasn't exactly perfect weather, if you will. So the guys will talk about that. We will also have Hudson running back Reno Ferri on. Hudson comes away. They came away with a pretty big win over Cleveland Heights. We'll go over that here in a little bit as well. So we're what? They can hear me. I'm on the air right now. That is my son.
Little Eddie, what's up, buddy?
He usually finds a way to make an appearance on the show, and he sure has done that now.
Ed's co-host.
That's
He's
right.
early. Why is he so early?
He is early. I know it's not bedtime yet, so I'm not sure what he's doing here. So, as we normally do, we're gonna go through the Southwestern Conference, the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Suburban League, Natty, and America divisions, and of course the Cleveland West Conference. Sean Duffy's got a great PowerPoint with all of the scores and what the scores look like next.
Yep.
And they'll be going over their game of the week recaps as well. After that, we'll take a quick break. We'll talk to Reno Ferri again from Hudson. We'll go over Player of the Week, and then we will tell you where we're going to be for week 4. Let's get it going. Sean with the PowerPoint, Rob with the Southwestern Conference.
All right, thanks, Ed. Let's jump right into it. The featured game here, and I'll give that a little later, but there was another game that was huge this week, and it was Glenville traveling to Avon again, the second year in a row. And Avon, they were held to 157 total yards, 37 yards on the ground. And Avon, again, turned the ball over 3 times. Obviously, let's remember the conditions that were on Friday night. I mean, the winds, the rain. It was a monsoon out there for a lot of these games. So holding on to the football probably became a problem. But running back Tyler Kaufman's 3-yard run with less than 2 minutes into the game proved to be a big one. That was the only touchdown score, and it was set up by Jeremiah Kelly's fumble recovery at the Glenville 3-yard line. The Eagles' defense, I mean, let's give credit to them. They held Glenville most of this game and really clamped down. Glenville did get on the board with a 68-yard touchdown run by Chris Newell. Glenville, they finished with 151 rushing yards and 182 total yards, but a lot came from that 68-yard play.
But Glenville, here's the key. They missed 2 extra points that were costly, and they also, I believe, missed a field goal. And Avon's kicker, Owen Warwick, this kid was clutch. He didn't care if it was raining sideways or not. He made all his point afters. He made 2 field goals of 36 and 22 yards in this game, and the Eagles escape with a 13-12 win over Glenville. Avon now improves to 3-0, and they've had some tough games early on. Glenville falls to 1-2. All right, Akron East, they traveled to Elyria. This was a really good game as Akron East, they blew a 12-0 lead. And Akron East had 2 big plays early on that got them on the board, but it was Elyria that finally got on the board with a 6-play, 60-yard scoring drive capped off by Kevin Jordan's touchdown run. The running back, he had 2 touchdowns on the night. Elyria scored a go-ahead touchdown when quarterback Stephen Gilbert connected with Steve Maher for a 27-yard pass on the first play of the fourth quarter. The score gave Elyria a 13-12 lead, but the Dragons of Akron East scored from 50 yards on a kickoff return on the next possession. And they would also score from 86 yards on a touchdown run by Zaire Stevens, their running back. The Pioneers, they hung close in this one, but fall 26-19. They fall to 0-3. Akron East is 1-2 on the season. So a hard-fought loss there, but more progress from Elyria. Good hard-fought game there. North Royalton traveling to North Ridgeville, and the Ranger defense, they didn't make it easy for the Bears in this one as they picked off 3 passes and forced 5 turnovers in this game. Not to mention they only allowed 69 yards of total offense for the Bears rather. For North Ridgeville, Zach Barnhart, he had 2 touchdowns on the night. It was quarterback Cole Miller. He connected with wide receiver Charlie Steinmetz. Rangers safety Brett Leinerth had an interception. Austin DeShazo and Carson Mattis also led the defense for North Ridgeville, who ran away with this one, and they ran away pretty early. It was 31-0, the final score. North Royalton drops to 0-3 as North Ridgeville improves to 3-0. Chardon, they traveled to Avon Lake, and this was a really good game last year, but this year Chardon wanted to come out quick. As Chardon senior tailback Caleb Hewitt rushed for 113 yards on 15 carries, had 2 touchdowns, and he also had 100 receiving yards on 3 catches, 2 of which went for 46 yards apiece. Junior quarterback Drayton Allgood completed 3 of 4 passes for 100 yards and 115 yards rushing on 19 carries and 2 touchdowns for Chardon. The only score for Avon Lake in this one was junior Aiden Stewart, who actually took a kick at his own 6-yard line and ran it 94 yards to the house. That was the only excitement for Avon Lake. It was a tough night trying to get some offense as they were held to 70 yards of total offense but from that Chardon defense. But Avon Lake, they had Hockett gained 48 yards on 11 carries. And that was one of the few bright spots for them. Senior tailback Anthony Benedict, he was held to 9 yards on 8 carries. It was Chardon rolling in this one, 28-7 over the Shoremen. Not much to talk about there for the most part, but Chardon improves to 3-0. 1-2 for Avon Lake as they'll look to get back into the conference play and pick up some wins. Canfield, they traveled to Olmsted Falls, and the Bulldogs dominated really from the second quarter on, because in the end of the first quarter, it was only 7-0 Bulldogs. In the second quarter, the Bulldogs really ran away with this one, scoring 21 points. It was 28-0 at half, and it was Olmsted Falls running back in the Southwestern Conference Ray Felton Player of the Week, Owen Singleton. He led the team with 104 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Logan Connolly had 2 receptions for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns. Quarterback Jimmy Rossell went 3 of 4 for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. Olmsted Falls again with a big 35-6 win over Canfield. Olmsted Falls improves to 3-0 on the year as Canfield falls to 1-2. Midview, they traveled to Elyria Catholic and looking to stay undefeated here as they started with a fumble snap on a punt. Elyria Catholic couldn't grab it, went out of bounds and at the EC 11-yard line, and Midview took over there, and they capitalized with the Elyria Catholic transfer, Shea Williams, he ran it in. It was 6-0 as they missed the extra point. Midview, they would run for 186 yards in the game with Michael McMahon and Michael Passarello Jr. EC, they lost 3 out of 4 fumbles in this game. Midview rolls in this one 27-0 over Elyria Catholic. Midview now 3-0 on the season. Great job by Coach Armstrong. He's got that team playing at a really high level as Elyria Catholic falls to 0-3. North Olmsted taking on Amherst, and Amherst has been playing some great football as well. But both teams, they really did start slow in this one. And it was North Olmsted scoring first. They led at half 7-6 in this game. And they played good defense in the first half. They played hard in the second half as well, but that's when Amherst started to figure it out a little bit, as they would score in the third quarter twice, or actually once in the third quarter and twice in the fourth quarter. 2 extra points and 1 2-point conversion was no good for Amherst, so they really kept North Olmsted in the game, but it was J.R. Byers. He had 2 touchdowns. Cole Norris connected with Tristan Young on a 46-yard pass. The Comets, they improved to 3-0 on the young season with a 24-7 win versus North Olmsted. Amherst offense, they racked up 353 yards of total offense. It was J.R. Byers rushing for 100 yards and a touchdown. And quarterback Cole Norris, he rushed for 170 yards and a touchdown, and also passed for another 81 yards and a touchdown. Amherst, again, 3-0 on the year. North Olmsted at 0-3. And now this next, it was the SOT featured game of the week from the Southwestern Conference. Berea Mid-Park took on Strongsville. I know Noah was at this game, and Noah, talk a little bit about what you saw, because Berea Mid-Park, I was surprised. I mean, even with the weather, Strongsville holding Berea Mid-Park to 6 points in this game.
Well, thanks again, Rob. And like everyone else that was covering our game this weekend, the weather, it could have gone worse for what the rain was causing in this game. And what a start, though, for Strongsville, as a running back, Sam DiMaccia, scored a touchdown with 1:27 left to go. And then quarterback Danny Bowser scored a rushing touchdown with 2:39 left to go to tie it. But the extra point was no good with 2:39 left to go in the second quarter. But then Strongsville would surprise everyone with the rain coming down so hard they drove down the field with 17 seconds left to go to give Nolan Beard a rushing touchdown to give them the 14-6 lead going into halftime. And then going into the second half, give Strongsville defense a lot of credit. I mean, they hold Berea Mid-Park a lot in this tough, heavy, rainy game in the second half. And then Nolan Beard passed a touchdown pass with 6:22 left in the game to Matt Wilkinson. That pretty much sealed the deal, as Berea Mid-Park, they had a couple opportunities where they could have gotten scores, but Strongsville's defense just got the better of them in this game. And there was a couple of times where they could have had it down by 13, but Strongsville's defense was just really dominant in the second half in this one, as they would take down the Titans 21-6 and giving Coach Jason Trusnick his first win as a head coach of the Strongsville Mustangs. Congratulations to him. I talked to him about that, and quarterback Nolan Beard, who had a great game with a passing and a rushing touchdown. You can also check that out at sportsontapodcast.com, and that was my featured game of the week in a rainy game down in Strongsville.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm showing the highlights now, just showing a few clips. And, I mean, you could see, I mean, it was coming down. I mean, in a lot of areas, I think it was just monsoon-like weather. But give Strongsville credit. They gave Coach Trusnick his first win and played really well. Berea Mid-Park is a good team. But Nolan Beard, impressive win there. So thanks, Noah. Great job on that. And my Southwestern Conference Player of the Week, again, Owen Singleton of the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, 104 yards and 3 touchdowns, and really carried
the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs to a huge win there against Canfield. So congratulations to him. And remember to go to Twitter and make sure you vote for the Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week. The winner does get a grab bag from Raymond Felton State Farm, and there is a gift card and a certificate in there. And we're also working on another little special gift to put in there that we haven't gotten yet, so that will be a little bit of a surprise. But maybe we'll talk about it after the show. I don't even know if I told you guys yet, but that's coming up later in the show.
Is it an autograph? Is it an autograph photo of me?
Well, actually,
I didn't agree to that, and I charged $5 per autograph picture of me.
Well, there we go. I knew you wouldn't be cheap, so I signed some things. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm a little cheaper than you, Sean. I know that.
Yeah.
But so Southwestern Conference, that's the scores from Week 3 in the Southwestern Conference. Looking ahead to Week 4, man, it looks like there's not as many games now as we get into conference play. Imagine that. But look at some of the games we have here. Midview and Amherst, the battle of undefeateds there at Amherst. Elyria and Avon. Avon Lake travels to Berea Mid-Park, and another battle of undefeateds as Olmsted Falls travels to North Ridgeville, which should be another great game. So some really good games in the Southwestern Conference for Week 4.
You got that right. And I'm looking at I'm trying to put together a framework for what the Power 10 is going to look like. Again, the Power 10 will come out. We will have the Power 10 coming out after Week 4, maybe. Depending how some of these how these schools how these records shake out, because right now I'm counting 10 undefeated teams.
Oh man,
11 undefeated teams in our coverage area right now. 5 of which come from the Southwestern Conference, 2 of which will become 3-1 at the end of this week.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, Rob, Avon's the story because they've taking on some major heavyweights in the first 3 weeks. So not that we won't talk about Avon as we will, but we certainly will soon.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the other undefeated teams. We have a rematch of they're all rematches, obviously. Olmsted Falls and Ridgeville. Ridgeville beat Olmsted Falls last year to propel them to where they ended up in the playoffs. And then Midview and Amherst. These are teams that last year didn't probably get their 3rd wins until later in the year. They both sprinted through the non-conference schedule now, and we have 2 instances of we have 2 games where those opponents are very evenly matched, and it's going to be a I'm really looking forward to seeing how this week is going to shake out in the SWC. Who is going to remain undefeated between Falls and Ridgeville and Midview and Amherst. Those 2 games are going to be fantastic. Avon Lake and Berea Mid-Park, both teams are 1-2.
Yeah.
But that game is going to be phenomenal, provided the weather isn't exactly what it was last week. Elyria hung tough with a very good Akron East team.
Yeah.
And they're going to get a crack at an Avon team, and if Elyria is on their A game, they're going to force Avon to remain on their A game, if not better. So. I'm really excited that we're getting in the conference play with your conference there, Rob.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Amherst and Midview because those 2 teams last year, I mean, they have come a long way. I mean, look at Amherst versus Buckeye. I thought that was pretty telling with that game because they came out firing in that game. With Olmsted Falls and North Ridgeville, last year was 10-3 was the final score. These 2 teams this year are putting up points at an unbelievable pace. So is this game going to be a lot of scoring, or are we going to get back to the defense and they're going to clamp down and it's going to be a low-scoring game? That's what I'm interested to see. And with Amherst and Midview, both of those teams are putting up some points. I mean, Amherst is – if you got to control Cole Norris and J.R. Byers. I mean, those 2 guys on that offense are unstoppable right now. And with Midview, Michael Passarello, Shea Williams, they're having guys really step up and get comfortable in their roles. And I think all these coaches are doing such a great job turning programs around and pretty quickly, really, when you look at it. And Coach Wilson, like you said, at Akron, playing Akron East, I thought he did a great job. They were down 12-0, and I thought they could have just
hung it up and said, you know what, we're going to lose this one and get smoked. And they came back and were in that game. And probably, who knows, could have won with a few different things happen in that game. But it's a fun week when you get into conference play, and I'm excited to see who stays undefeated this week.
No doubt. We'll see the Southwestern Conference, the meat grinder that is the Southwestern Conference, finally begins their conference season starting here in week 4. All right, let's shift over to the Greater Cleveland Conference. Noah Jacobson had some pretty good games there as well. So let's shoot it over to Dr. Hoops.
All right. Well, thanks, Ed. Well, we'll start off with Brunswick. They were traveling to Highland, and a game was played in this one, but it was just Highland was just getting the better of Brunswick as they would beat the Blue Devils 37-0. Quarterback Sean Barnett was 11-16 for 78 yards, and running back Eli Nichols had 9 carries for 31 yards. Cleveland Heights, they were hosting Hudson in this one as Cleveland Heights was looking to bounce back after a week 2 loss down in Michigan, but Hudson they just had the better game plan in this one, going up against Max Stevens and his team, as they would lose 27-14. Not Marquise Davis, but a freshman running back, Elijah Davis, had 17 carries for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. What a great performance for that freshman. Euclid was traveling to Weststone of Columbus, a 2-hour drive of 149-mile 2-hour drive. And Euclid, they did not miss a beat in this one, as Chimeri Friesen had a kickoff return for a touchdown. And then Deion Russell had 3 touchdown passes in this one, as Euclid would get the best of Weststone 44-12, giving Coach Damian Creel his first win as the Panthers head coach. Menor, they were taking on McDowell of Pennsylvania. Dylan Tackett, the Cardinals kicker, he was 5 for 5 for extra points and sent every kickoff into the end zone for a touchback. What a great performance, and what a great kicker he is for the Cardinals. Quarterback Scotty Fox passed for 205 yards and 4 touchdowns. Running back Jackson Farley had 8 carries for 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also did have a receiving touchdown on this one. Wide receiver Austin Van Hutch had 3 catches for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. Linebacker Kanan Clark had 7 tackles, a sack, a TFLs, 2 of them, and then 2 forced fumbles, as the Cardinals would score 6 touchdowns on 20 offensive plays and forced 4 turnovers and taking a 43-7 halftime lead. What a great start that was to a halftime, as they would get the best of McDowell 50-14. Medina, they were traveling to Wadsworth. This was a playoff matchup in the second round last year, as Medina beat the Grizzlies last year. But it's the opposite in this one, as Wadsworth would get the best of Medina 51-7. Quarterback Kason Diallo was 14-32 for 101 yards. Running back Cooper Josephic had 11 carries for 69 yards. Wide receiver Brian 7 yards. But I want to give Cordy Carey, the Medina defensive player, he did have a 54-yard interception touchdown return, which was the only score for Medina in this one, but they would fall 51-7 over the Grizzlies. And then Shaker Heights, they were taking on Solon in this one. This was a game that was 7-7 in the halftime. And then Cordell Beard had 3 touchdowns in this game. So far, he has 8 touchdowns through 3 weeks. That is phenomenal. Shaker Heights did have a 21-9 lead with 11:05 left to go. But Solon, they just came out on offense and defense, and they just did everything they could to shock the Red Raiders in this one, 22-21. And then last but not least, what I was talking about in Rob's conference, my feature game of the week, Strunsville, they took down Berea Mid Park 21-6, giving Coach Jason Trustig his first win. And then moving on to the week 4 schedule here in the Greater Cleveland Conference. Brunswick will be traveling to Cleveland Heights. Shaker Heights will be taking on Euclid. Menor will be taking on Medina. That should be a great game. Benedictine will be taking on Strunsville. The GCC Player of the Week is wide receiver for the Menor Cardinals, Austin Van Hutch. He had 3 catches for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also did have a 2-point conversion. All of those were in the first half. What a great performance he was. And that is the Week 3 scoreboard for the Greater Cleveland Conference and the Week 4 schedule for the Greater Cleveland Conference.
A great job, Noah, as always, with the Greater Cleveland Conference. Mentor has starting to rack up some wins. They're number 1 in Division I, Region 1, according to JoeIdle.com, unofficial, but it's unofficially official rankings for the computer standings there. Shaker Heights and Solon. Tell you what, I mean, Shaker Heights, they gave Solon a good run for it, and those are some of the non-conference games that that was a conference game last year that they were able to win, and now it's a non-conference game, and Solon was able to get the Duke there. I gotta tell you, I haven't seen. We can talk about this more with in the Wadsworth part of this, but I haven't seen Medina get manhandled like that in quite some time. Great, good on Euclid. Euclid getting their first one of the year. It's for Coach Creel, getting the first one at his new school, a big one, and having to travel 2.5 hours to do it, no less. What out of what you've seen out of the Greater Cleveland Conference this past week, what was the major highlight for you for this conference?
Well, I really think the major highlight for week 3 was how the Mentor Cardinals really staked out in their first half. I mean, they took a 43-7 lead at halftime, scored 6 touchdowns. But the biggest key was 26 offensive plays. That doesn't happen when you're scoring 6 touchdowns on 26 offensive plays. And that forced the defense really to get 4 turnovers in this game. So that's what really staked out to me, is how the Mentor Cardinals played in week 3 against Erie McDowell. And that's what I really thought and really sticked out to me this past week for the Greater Cleveland Conference.
Yeah, it is a great effort by Mentor, and it's Coach Gray's been kind of chomping at the bit to kind of make up for what happened last year, and so far 3 victories in 3 games. Can't ask for a better start. And like I said, their conference schedule finally starts. And we'll see what Mentor does along with the rest of the teams in the Greater Cleveland Conference. So great job, Noah. Very good. And then with that, let's shift over to the Suburban League. And with Josh Jeffy out on assignment, the Natty and the America division will be colored by my cohort, my colleague, my compadre, Sean Duffy. Hope you drink a lot of milk, because he is ready to roll here for the Suburban League. Sean, take it away.
Well, thank you, Ed. And first off, I'd like to thank all those at Lakewood Stadium for the great hospitality that was shown to me and the rest of the people that were trying to find the nearest lifeboat or ark or 2x2 animal that was going in to find anywhere that was dry in Lakewood. But we'll get to that here in a few minutes. We'll start off as we always do, and I'm not sure why we always do. We'll start off in the Natty. We'll start off with Brecksville hosting Uniontown Lake, and the Bees. Well, the Bees had a tough night. They lost 24-0. Unfortunately for Brecksville, they fall to 0-3 on the season. They're going to look to get back off the schneid in week 4. Massillon Jackson traveling into Stowe, and Stowe could only manage 100 yards of total offense in the game. The only touchdown for Stowe came late in the 4th with a Nick Hosey 2-yard touchdown run. For Jackson, Christian Satterfield and Noah Colando each had 2 touchdowns apiece for Massillon Jackson, as Massillon Jackson beat Stowe 31-7. North Ridgeville versus North Royalton, and as Rob so eloquently put it, it was all North Ridgeville all night. All Rangers in this contest, as they win 31-0. Between the weather and the defense, the Bears turned the ball over 5 times and can only muster 69 yards of offense total for the game. They were thoroughly dominated by the North Ridgeville Rangers, 31-0. Twinsburg versus Copley. We have a lone interconference matchup where the Copley Indians hosted the Twinsburg Tigers. First score of the game for the Tigers came on a defensive play by R.J. Ruffin that tied the score at 7 in the first quarter. A Copley punt attempt ended up in the end zone, and the Tigers would recover for a safety. Joey Pollock led the Tigers offensively. He passed for 81 yards and ran for another 144 yards and a touchdown on the ground. In the game, running back Lucas Kineslen ran for 94 yards and a score. Again, these are, if you have any complaints about the way I'm pronouncing these names, please reach out to Josh Jeffy or Rob Troutman, care of Sports on Tap Podcast at gmail.com. But RJ Ruffin also added 47 yards on 4 receptions for the Tigers as they eke out a 25-22 victory over Copley. Solon, again, as mentioned, went in and got a very close win over Shaker Heights. Aiden Jefferson scored the first Comet touchdown with 2 minutes to go in the second quarter on a 3-yard run. Solon would add a safety in the third quarter to make the score 9-7. Shaker scored twice to make it 21-9 in the fourth quarter, and Solon defense came through with a pick 6 that narrowed the Shaker lead to 21-16 with just over 9 minutes to go in the game. Solon quarterback Jack Sanders with the go-ahead touchdown late in the fourth quarter. 2-point conversion was unsuccessful, and the score was now 22-21 with less than a minute to go, and that would be the final as Solon got a big, big win over Shaker Heights. They moved to 2-1. Wadsworth and Medina. And as Noah put it, a game occurred here between Wadsworth and Medina, but it was all Grizzlies all night. Freshman Bryson Hall made his first career start and had no problem with the Grizzlies running game and defense. Hall would finish 12 of 18 with 194 yards, 1 touchdown. Calix Lemp, another receiving touchdown, and his 5th of the year. Wadsworth running backs Gavin Madigan had 10 rushes for 124 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also chipped in 2 interceptions on the defensive side of the ball. Cooper Gray, 14 rushes for 86 yards and a touchdown. The Wadsworth defense, guys, only gave up 192 yards to Medina. Sean Kincaid had a 54-yard interception return for a touchdown. Medina failed to score an offensive touchdown for the first time since 2018. I'll say that again. This is the first time the Medina air bees, ground bees, whatever kind of bees you want to call them, failed to score an offensive touchdown. Hats off to the Wadsworth Grizzlies defense. Hudson, Wadsworth would roll 51-7. Hudson gets a 27-14 victory, and the Explorers look to avenge that loss, last year's 34-31 loss to Cleveland Heights. The first Explorer TD came on a Brandon Funyak score. This game belonged to Reno Ferri, our guest coming up later. Sophomore running back led Hudson with 93 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He was also a problem for Cleveland Heights in the return game. He had a 77-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Even though Hudson did not complete a single pass in the game, they did in the run game and on defense. They did enough in the run game and on defense to secure a much-needed win before the start of conference play. They get a 27-14 victory. The spotlight game, and I'll do this as best I can for the Natty, was Joshua Jeffy going to Mayfield to watch the Nordonia Knights travel in to take on Mayfield, and they dominated Mayfield. This game was all Nordonia from the start. 45 seconds into the game, Ben Chesser hit Owen Smotek for a 30-yard touchdown pass. The running game took over, and naturally have to do because, again, I would say it was raining cats, dogs, zebras, whatever animal you got. It was insane. Liam Counts, Kylan Osby, Ben Chesser, Rocco DiLorenzo all scored rushing touchdowns to put the Knights up 35-0 at half. Nordonia's defense was dominant, only giving up 74 yards of total offense, forcing 2 Mayfield turnovers. Some stats here for you guys. Ben Chesser finished the game 9 of 17, 92 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. Rocco DiLorenzo, 15 rushes for 110 yards, 1 touchdown. Liam Counts, 5 rushes at 83 yards, 1 touchdown. Owen Smotek, 4 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Want to bring something up here because he wanted to mention this and he put it in bold, so I have to mention it. Even though this was a pretty dominating victory for Nordonia, they still had a problem with penalties. Now, I'll put some of that probably on the weather. However, double-digit penalties, 16 penalties for 157 yards for the Nordonia Knights. That's not going to work coming into conference play. You got to play better coming into conference play, and I think head coach Jeff Fox was reiterating that to his team after a great victory over a Mayfield team who, by all accounts, had a come-from-behind victory last week against Elyria Catholic. And again, this week just wasn't enough didn't have the magic in them. for Mayfield, but Nordonia cruises to a 35-7 victory. Moving on to the America division, we'll start off as we always do with Aurora. Traveling to West Geauga, Aurora continues to roll through the season with 37-0 demolition of West Geauga. Lucas Manderbach, a senior running back and edge rusher, Manderbach picked up 74 yards and scored on 7 carries. Had scored a touchdown on 7 carries in a 37-0 victory over West Geauga. Manderbach also blocked a punt and scooped it up for a score, so you got a scoop and score out of Manderbach. Good on him. Tommy Tartabini, the senior linebacker, totaled 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a forced fumble in Aurora's shutout of West Geauga. He also scored in a first quarter touchdown run for the Green Men as they cruised to a 37-0 victory. Defensively, the Aurora starting defense has yet to give up a point in the 2024 campaign. I'll say that again. The Aurora starting defense has not given up a single point since the beginning of the 2024 campaign, and this is the second straight shutout for the Green Men as they improved to 3-0 over with a 37-0 victory over West Geauga. Barberton traveled into South Range and a game occurred. Barberton gets blown out 38-0. They look to rebound in week 4. Southeast traveled into Cuyahoga Falls, and this would mark 2 wins in a row for the Black Tigers as they win 21-6 over Ravenna Southeast. Cuyahoga Falls' Nick Robinson opened up the scoring when he pulled a 5-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Joey Earl, and with 3:32 left in the first half. I can't believe they're passing with how much raining it was, but we'll get to that in a second. Robertson gave the Black Tigers a breathing space with a 5-yard touchdown run to start the fourth quarter, and Cuyahoga Falls iced the game with a 64-yard touchdown by Xavier Lindsay with just under 2 minutes left as they get a 21-6 victory over Ravenna Southeast. Highland versus Brunswick, and Highland does what Highland's been doing all season, running the ball and dominating as they come out and win 37-0. Highland running back Casey Myers ran for 120 yards and 4 touchdowns and 14 carries. Look, guys, Casey Myers is putting up numbers where he could be legitimately every single week my player of the week nominee for the American League division. I don't want to disparage this guy's performances because he's been leading the Highland Hornets in every offensive category. So I'm going to give him his flowers right now. This guy is a beast for the Hornets. If you want a chance to stop in Highland, you got to stop Casey Miser. Sorry. Highland quarterback Dylan Borla went 3 of 3 for 121 yards, which is pretty efficient. Highland wide receiver Evan Faust had 2 catches for 81 yards and 4 rushes for 47 yards. Running back Dylan Lazar had 4 carries for 45 yards, and he also had a touchdown. So if you stop Miser, you got to deal with Dylan Lazar, apparently, too, who also had a pretty efficient night against Brunswick as Highland cruises to a 37-0 victory. As I mentioned, Twinsburg versus Copley. Those some stats for the Copley team. Copley loses a close game, 22-25. Tony Cox, our guest from last week, did have a rushing touchdown in this, but it just wasn't enough as him and quarterback Dane Wininger had a touchdown pass and also had a rushing touchdown, but it just, again, wasn't enough as they fall 22-25 to Twinsburg. My final game, before a couple of games here, Revere traveled in to take on Ravenna, and the Revere Minutemen ride a dominant defensive performance to a 35-0 victory over Ravenna. Rowan Klein, 23 carries, 124 yards, 3 touchdowns in the contest. Joe Sunken scored TDs via a fumble recovery. He also blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown. Luke Ferris ran for 64 yards on 14 carries and completed a 42-yard pass to A.J. Hall in this event as well. Revere's defense has only allowed 13 points in the first 3 weeks of the season. They're dominating on the defensive side of the ball. They get a 35-0 victory over Ravenna. Good on you, the Minutemen. My final game, before I talk about my spotlight game, is Talmadge traveling into Uniontown Green. And unfortunately, the weather may have bit the Blue Devils here as the Blue Devils fall for the second straight year to Uniontown Green, this time by a score of 14-6. The Green was able to score a late touchdown, and that pretty much summed it up for Talmadge going into that game. My spotlight game saw yours truly travel to Lakewood. Just a caveat of this, and I talked about it with my fellow teammates here. Due to some technical difficulties, I was not able to get highlights from the second half. Apparently, my phone was under the impression that I was submerged in the ocean because it went into safe mode at right as the second half was about to begin, and I couldn't text or access Twitter. So I was not able to provide updates, and nor was I able to give video. However, the game, I was able to upload video of the first half highlights. In what can only be described as monsoon conditions, the Lakewood Rangers were able to get a tough win over Kent Roosevelt. Rangers took the lead early thanks to a quarterback run by Avery Holt. Remember that name because Avery Holt had a heck of a game for the Lakewood Rangers. Rough Riders would respond early in the second quarter thanks to a rushing TD by Yante Smith. Rangers would again come back and score just before halftime. This time, Avery Holt would find Manny Serrano 18 yards into the end zone, and the Rangers took a 12-7 lead going into halftime. The Rough Riders would score again on the legs of Yante Smith with a rushing TD. Rough Riders now jumped out to a 13-12 lead midway through the third quarters. Lakewood special teams, guys, was the difference in this. And believe it or not, on a night where special teams would probably be the last thing any coach would want to do, punting, kicking, things of that nature are probably a little bit in the X factor there. The Lakewood special teams were able to make a miracle happen. He was able to punt the ball. Avery Holt was able to punt the ball, and it got all the way down to the Rough Riders half-yard line. 2 plays later, the Ranger defense was able to get in the backfield and score a safety, making the score 14-13. Lakewood Avery Holt would find another touchdown pass to secure a 21-13 victory over Kent Roosevelt with a fantastic finish for Lakewood. Unfortunate, tough loss for Kent Roosevelt, especially in the conditions they were game. They were really trying to. Most of what I saw in that game was sloppy pass. Obviously with the conditions, shotgun snaps, things of that nature, were really having a tough time. But Lakewood was able to survive those. The Suburban League Player of the Week nominee for the Suburban League is Revere running back Rowan Klein. 23 carries, 124 yards, 3 touchdowns on the game. Congratulations to Rowan. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have on tap. You like how I did that? What we have on tap for the Suburban League in the Natty Division. Brecksville travels to take on North Royalton. Stowe travels in to take on Hudson. Nordonia will go to Solon to face the Comets, and Wadsworth will go in to take on Twinsburg. In the Merca Division, we have a big one here, boys. 3-0 versus 3-0. Aurora versus Revere. Talmadge will travel in to take on Barberton. Kent Roosevelt will be looking to take on a suddenly hot Cuyahoga Falls team, and Copley looking to bounce back from a tough loss, but they drew the short straw here as they go travel into Highland and try to stop that train that is Casey Miser. Guys, that's all I got for the Suburban League. I'm doing double duty tonight. I feel like I did as good as I could. I'm making up for not being able to cover the second half of the game I was supposed to go to. But I'd like to also point out that I had to wring out all of my clothes before I walked into my house, and my car still smells like wet Duffy, which I don't know if you've ever smelled that before. It's not a pleasant smell. My wife is having me clean out the car this week to get rid of that smell.
I was going to say, I don't know if anybody wants to smell that. That's for sure.
No, it doesn't sound
we don't,
great.
Rob.
Doesn't sound great.
It's not. And I'm the person that it is. So yeah, I'm telling you from experience, it's not.
But,
great effort, Tom.
But either way, Ed, it was a monsoon-like conditions out there. I mean, the rain was coming down sideways, and I give all these athletes credit for the way they played and stuck it out in this. I mean, it was fun to watch, but it was tough, no doubt about it.
I got to say this. At the Lakewood Kent game, it was also youth night there, and I will tell you this. As miserable as I was because it was raining, I was wet and cold, those kids were having a blast. The most fun they had when Lakewood run out, because they created a human tunnel, those kids were loving every minute of this. The parents were not. The parents were ready to go home. And I sympathize with the parents, but that was that was a fun atmosphere despite the weather. Lakewood was pumped for that game.
And with good right to be. A team like Kent Roosevelt, I would say a very evenly matched team between Kent Roosevelt and Lakewood. So it was good. It was a really good decision for a player for the game of the week because it featured two of our conferences that don't normally play each other. Like Cleveland West Conference and the Suburban American, they're far enough away where those paths don't cross very often. And given where both teams are at right now, it was a great game to cover, and it was a good game. You couldn't, I mean, besides the weather being not what it was, I think that and I'll talk a little bit about the Lakewood side of it too, coming up here in a few minutes. You couldn't have asked for a better game between those two conferences, two evenly matched teams, and you got a great game out of it. And again, my props to Rob, Sean, Noah, and Josh for really braving it outside, along with the players and the coaches. A lot of coaches' game plans went completely out the window as the forecast was worsening on Friday. You can certainly tell that. Going into next week, going into this week, Sean, we have another battle of undefeated teams with a Revere and Aurora. And what this reminds me of is last year's battle between Kent and Barberton, where I mean Barberton's 0-3 now, but I think that's more fluky than anything else. But Barberton has been a very good team, and Roosevelt started out hot, as we saw, and they this was a measuring stick game for Roosevelt to see where they stood, and we all saw what happened there. I think the same thing's going to happen. I don't think the same thing's going to happen as far as the result of the game. I think the same idea applies that this is a big measuring stick game for Revere going against Aurora.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you look at a team like Revere, they have all the pieces and parts, especially defensively. Again, giving up 13 points over a sample of 3 games, that's not a fluke. It's one thing if, they're eking out games 1 point here and it's a track meet every game. That's one thing. And we kind of saw that a little bit last year with Kent Roosevelt going into the Barberton game. And they were met with a Barberton defense that was pumped up. It's a little bit different this year. It's way different this year because now you have Aurora going on the road to Revere, and Revere's 3-0, and their defense is I think legit, and they're going to get tested. I'm very interested to see how this game goes from a scoring standpoint. Is this going to be, because we've seen it before, right? 2 great defenses, then all of a sudden it becomes a basketball game. It's 48-40. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen those games. I'm thinking it's going to be more on the latter side. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to come down to who makes the mistake and who capitalizes. And I think that's where we're going to see the difference. I'm very interested to see how Revere responds. I think Aurora's a team that's been there. They're battle hardened. Revere, they got some talent, no doubt about it. But if you can beat Aurora, you set yourself up pretty well for going into the conference. Highland's still lurking, but if you could knock off Aurora early in the season, those are computer points that put you in a position where we're talking hosting a playoff game at that point. We're talking, not just eking into the playoffs, but being a legit threat in that region to come out and be somebody to be dealt with, especially with this defense. Defense travels. So, on the flip side, Aurora also has a very, very good defense. And, they're making plays. They're scoring. And that's something that's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. So we'll see. We're looking forward to seeing how that game shakes out with Aurora and Revere. I like the Solon and Nordonia battle on the other side as well. Same with Wadsworth versus Twinsburg. And then they get the battle of the Golden Shoe between Brecksville and North Worldton. It's never, you throw the records out when those two teams play. That's usually a pretty good contest as well. Sean, take a break. Great job. Thanks for covering
both.
Nice job,
Duff. Nice job.
Both. Big ups to Josh as well for going out there and sending us the recaps.
Wait, one thing before I let we go to the next one. I would be remiss if I did not say, the Akron Beacon Journal and Cleveland.com do a fantastic job. Specifically, the Akron Beacon Journal does a fantastic job of covering the Suburban League and giving us a lot of these stats. And I want to make sure that we're giving them all the props in the world. They do a great job, especially getting, some of these teams that, we don't necessarily see. I mean, obviously, Avon gets their cred, but we go deep and we thank them for the coverage that they provide, allowing us to spit off these stats as best we can and mispronounce these names to all hell every Monday night here on YouTube.
That's very well put. The media outlets out here, we appreciate them. I'll personally shout out the Chronicle and the Medina Gazette as well.
I was just about to say, I probably should do the Morning Journal and Chronicle too in this area. Do a great job covering the high school sports and high school football in this area, with especially stats, because it's tough for me to shoot video and be pretty accurate with stats. So I can say the Chronicle and the Morning Journal are very on top of it, and they do a great job.
Absolutely. All right, with that, let's shift over to the Cleveland West Conference. This is the Week 3 recaps. Let's start with Bay taking on a Hunting Valley University School. And Bay, they started the game with a safety. They got a 51-yard touchdown run and a 2-point conversion by junior running back Rocco Hereditario. Later in the game, Hereditario struck again for a 1-yard touchdown run, and Bay comes away with a 17-7 victory over a very good University School squad. With the win, Bay improves to 2-1. They will host Normandy to start Cleveland West Conference play. University School is 1-2. They will host 1-2 Garfield Heights. Moving down the line here, Buckeye took on Ellett, and Buckeye they beat Ellett pretty solidly there. Good victory there from Buckeye to Ellett. Senior running back Troy McCann, he rushed 21 times for 125 yards and a touchdown. Senior wide receiver Trey Weidenmeyer, he caught 2 passes, both touchdowns. He caught passes of 3 and 30 yards for touchdowns. Junior quarterback Turner Delata, extremely efficient. He completed 6 of 8 passing for 61 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also rushed 3 times for 9 yards and a touchdown. 5 total touchdowns for Delata. Very, very great effort there. Liam Phillips and Travis Avalon also caught touchdown passes, and Avalon also had a pick in the game. And Buckeye runs away with this game 41-8 or 41-7. Buckeye is 2-1. Ellett falls to 0-3. They will take on 0-3 Alliance. Moving on, Kent. We just talked about Kent Roosevelt and Lakewood. Avery Holt. It was all about Avery Holt here for the Lakewood offense, as it has been for the last few years. He gets a little bit of help from Jalen Chappell and some of his receivers. He did have 3 total touchdowns in a feature game of the week effort victory over Kent Roosevelt, and we're really the Rangers. They do improve to 2-1, and we'll talk about where they're going next week as well. And Kent Roosevelt. They fall to 1-2. Garfield, Garrettsville Garfield, the G-Men took on Normandy. Last year, this was an absolute shellacking, but Normandy kept it really close this year. According to what I saw from Max Preps, the touchdowns were scored by Justin Garner. They cited number 2, so I don't have a reason to believe it was Elijah Gray, who is their all-world quarterback. But Justin Garner, he did rush for a 50-yard touchdown to give the Invaders a 7-6 lead. He followed up with a 2-yard touchdown run later in the game, but it wasn't enough. Garrettsville Garfield pulls away for a 20-12 victory over Normandy. Normandy falls to 1-2. The G-Men are 2-1. They will host LaBrea. Amherst took on North Olmsted. North Olmsted got their first touchdown of the year, so they got the schneid there. Tommy Horsfall rushed for the Eagles touchdown. He was a double reverse pass to senior Michael Passafiumi that helped set up Horsfall's touchdown. Just not enough firepower from the Eagles against was becoming a very good Amherst Steel squad. North Olmsted falls 24-7 to Amherst. North Olmsted drops to 0-3, and then Amherst is 3-0. They will travel to 3-0 Midview. All right, Valley Forge took on Garfield Heights. This game was played on Thursday night at Byers Field, the first game that was played at Byers Field this year. And senior running back Darius Corbin rushed for a 46-yard touchdown. Junior quarterback Sean Frank threw 2 touchdowns, and Ethan Anthony caught a touchdown as well. And he also rushed for a TD. Valley Forge gets their first win. They are now 1-2. Garfield Heights falls to 1-2. They will take on University School next week. Westlake took on Warrensville Heights. Senior quarterback Sam Brucheri rushed for touchdowns of 45 and 15 yards. Let's see if I can get this right. Tamer Abedrabo returned a fumble for a touchdown, and Jake Ostrowski rushed for a 4-yard touchdown and scored on a 2-point conversion. And Westlake gets a 30-6 victory over the Tigers of Warrensville Heights. Westlake is 2-1. Warrensville Heights falls to 0-3, and they will host 1-2 Lucas. Tell you what, no, we can go through this real quick because quite honestly, there's from the Rocky River side, not a whole lot going on there, Rob. You're at this game between the Pirates and the Pirates. Traditionally, a very good contest between these two teams. Quite lopsided, though, Rob.
Yeah, it was the story of Isaac Bunce. He's the running back for Sandusky Perkins. 6 touchdowns on the night, over 300 yards rushing, and realistically, Perkins won this game up front. I mean, they just absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage. The conditions were not great. I mean, the field handled the water pretty good, but I mean, there were puddles, and you could see it here in the video coming down sideways for the most part. Rocky River just couldn't find anything offensively. They'd have some big plays, but a lot of turnovers in the game. The one thing I will say is Perkins, I mean, they must have had 10 to 15 penalties, and a lot of them were unsportsmanlike penalties, whether it was a late hit out of bounds, or I know some of the kids had problems keeping their mouth closed after the play. And Rocky River still couldn't take advantage of the 15-yard penalties. They got close into Perkins territory. You see it here, but they fumbled the football as they had a good drive, and that stalled it, and Perkins took advantage. I mean, a lot of times, big-time drives all the way down at their end and taking it all the way. But again, Isaac Bunce pretty much did it all for Perkins, and not a lot of throwing in this game, and wet conditions didn't favor Rocky River here. But again, 49-0 Sandusky Perkins. It was an absolute soaked monsoon kind of night. I know I was drenched, but give the players credit. They all hustled and played very hard in this game, but Perkins just came out on top.
Yeah, with that, Rocky River, they dropped to 2-1. There is no longer any undefeated teams in the Cleveland West Conference at this point. But a lot of 2-1 teams, 6 of them to be exact, with Valley Forge at 1-2 and North Olmsted at 0-3. All right, we'll quickly go to where the Cleveland West Conference goes next week. And we have 2-1 Bay taking on 2-1 Normandy. We also have 2-1 Rocky River taking on 1-2 Valley Forge. 2-1 Buckeye taking on 0-3 North Olmsted. And 2-1 Westlake taking on 2-1 Lakewood. So a lot of computer points are starting to get determined early, especially when you're starting to pick up these non-conference wins, as our friends from the Southwest Conference are experiencing. A lot of those teams are in the upper echelon of the Division II, Region 6. These teams are spread out pretty well throughout the regions here, and we'll certainly see where things go there. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have sophomore running back from the Hudson Explorers, Reno Ferri. He's going to join us to talk about their big win over Cleveland Heights in Week 3 and talk about what he's got going on as a sophomore running back for Hudson. This is the Sports on Tap High School Football Recap Show brought to you by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance, and we'll be right back.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.
The Sports on Tap High School Football Recap Show presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. Make sure you give Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance a call for a quote on home, auto, and life insurance needs. He's out of beautiful Hudson, Ohio, which is exactly where we are going to go right now to talk to our guest this week, student athlete, sophomore running back Reno Ferri. He had 18 rushes for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he really made his mark in the return game. Had a 77-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, 118 total return yards, and a 27-14 win over Cleveland Heights. Reno, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Hey, Reno, we just kind of talked a little bit about this before we came on the air. With this game specifically, you're playing against a very tough team in Cleveland Heights, but you're also playing against the weather. Just go through briefly talk about the game just as a whole, not only with the elements, but also playing a tough team like Cleveland Heights.
Yeah, I mean, Heights, they're a very, very good team, very, very good program. I thought that our offensive line played near perfect. They were running a six-man box six man on the line the entire game. We really shouldn't have been able to run it all, but my O-line just did a fantastic job, and we were able to pull it out. And the rain, it was crazy. I've never played in any weather, even close to that, but it was really fun. I think this was the first game where Hudson won, and we didn't even complete a single pass.
Yeah, given some of the teams you guys, and given what we know about Hudson, some of you guys throw the ball all over the field, but you guys need to complete a pass. You can complete a pass. So the fact that you guys are able to win a game without completing a pass is a testament to your coaching staff and obviously to the players as well.
Yeah.
Reno, I want to again congratulate you on a great game. It was a fantastic performance by not only you, but as you mentioned, your offensive line. What were some of the things, early on in that game, you guys kind of found a lot of success running the ball. What were some of the things that you guys were able to exploit with Cleveland Heights? Because as you mentioned, there were 6 on the line. Was it just your guys were getting better blocks, or was there something maybe you guys schemed out? Was it just kind of a nice fruition that everything came to?
Yeah, just again, it's all the blocks. Without those blocks, I go nowhere. I owe all those yards to those guys. I mean, we ran a lot of outside zone instead of inside zone because they were just Cleveland Heights is big, man. They got 300-pound guys everywhere, and they're all good. They're all mobile. I'd say just overall, we attacked the outside more than the inside, and just the offensive line. And Drake Cowan, our H, he did a great job as well.
Reno,
Well,
thank you
as
for
a-
saying it. Oh, sorry, Sean.
I was just going to say, as a former offensive lineman and knowing what happens when the running backs don't give the shout out to the offensive line, would you like to name out some of your offensive linemen before we move on to the next question? So that way that they block free next week too.
I'll name out all of them. Jay Clapper, Parker Jenks, Jackson Babitsky, Andrew Lanham, Otto Grill, and then obviously Drake as well. Like all those guys. Otto's my class as well. He did a great job against all those big guys, and again, without those guys, I go nowhere.
Reno, thank you for taking the time and joining us today, and congrats on a great performance against Cleveland Heights. Like some of those players, like Sean was talking about, I mean, Jake Clapper, Nathan Judy, Jackson Bapisky. I mean, I can name almost any of them for you guys, but just kind of talk about what's it like been playing with those guys, and even talk about some of the other big time players for your team that have already made a big impact throughout the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, obviously, he's the leader, I'd say, of the offensive line. Jackson right behind him. Both of them are obviously very good players. And Judy didn't play in this last game, but he was on the sideline. And I talked to him a few times during the game. He's always congratulating everybody. I mean, I owe everything to them. Like, I am nothing without any of those individual guys.
Well, Reno, talk a little bit about your kickoff return because obviously, the ball in the air, especially when it's raining, was it tough to catch and really get your feet and momentum going? I know on a kickoff return, you got to really get that speed and hit the hole pretty quick. Otherwise, you're probably going to get bunched up and not go anywhere. So how tough was it for you on that kickoff return going for a touchdown to catch it and then make sure you get some pretty quick momentum to go towards the end zone?
I mean, our special teams coordinator, Coach Parker, he put in a great game plan. Like, I knew before the game that if I caught a kick return, I should take it more than 50 yards. Like, just the way they were very, like, what should I say? On one of their sides, they weren't all the way out. So we were really blocking to seal that edge. And both times, I just ran to the other side of the field. And obviously, one of them, I broke, 50 yards. The other one was a touchdown.
So you're probably pretty excited to have a chance to return a kickoff. If you saw something in the Cleveland Heights special teams that, you thought you could get 50 yards per kickoff return. That's got to be something exciting where you're like, man, I think I could take this to the house.
Yeah, it was. And the blocking on the touchdown was fantastic. There are 3 or 4 blocks that if they don't happen, I'm probably tackled 30 yards down the field. It was a great performance from the whole unit, I'd say.
So now do you want to play more games in the rain or in monsoon-like conditions, especially after the performance you had this last Friday?
I would, but I know the receivers also want to catch. And I know they'll block all game for us, but it's probably for their sake, I'd say I'd rather not play in a monsoon.
Well, I can tell you right now, Reno, we don't want to cover any more games in a monsoon, so I think we're gonna that's all the rain we're gonna get for the season. I'm convinced of it.
This is true though, Sean. I'm not gonna lie. It's not bad. We still are on the sidelines, even though it's pouring down rain. We didn't go up in the press box. We're like, you know what? We're gonna toughen this out and stand on the sidelines, and that's what we did. We'd like to be obviously in a little better conditions, but you got to toughen things out sometimes.
If the players can do it, then we can do it. Although the few games that I've covered in the past, I'm totally in the press box. That's exactly where I will reside if I do go back out and cover a game. Moving forward with Reno here, Reno, as a sophomore, you're getting time on a really good program that is Hudson, and we have seen that young underclassmen have had success at a pretty high level with Hudson. Ian Ludwig, for example. He seems like he'd been around forever. But how do you feel you fit in to the varsity locker room with the juniors and the seniors, and obviously, coach does a really good job of making sure everyone's on the same page, anyways. But sometimes it can be a little intimidating for a sophomore to take reps with the juniors and the seniors. How's that transition? How has that been for you so far this year?
I mean, the main thing is everybody's kind to each other. I mean, there's no like factions on the team. We're all just one big family, and that's probably my favorite part about the whole program. And even like talking to Ian Ludwig, like I like him. He's a nice guy. He was always nice to me, and especially like all the seniors last year, they were all nice, and I was a freshman, and I think that really helps.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a great environment to foster as a senior for your underclassmen. And the fact that we're talking about that now is, that's a mark of a really good program, which Hudson has been forever. We'll get you out of here after one more question here. Without going into too much detail, you got Stowe Monroe Falls next week, this coming Friday. Without going into too much detail, what do you guys see about? What are some things you like about Stowe, or maybe conversely, what are some things about Stowe that are things you really got to focus on?
I mean, we really looked at them first today in practice, and I know they weren't great last year, but I know they're better this year, and I know their coaching staff is probably great. I know their players are probably great, and we have to act like this is the best team we're going to play. We have to prepare as they are the best team we are going to play every single week. And I know they haven't had success as of recently, but we can't have another Hoover. We can't have another Hoover.
Fair enough. That's an excellent way of looking at it. And obviously the goal is to go 1-0, and your opponent is also 0-0 going into this game. So that's spoken like a very coached up
seasoned vet.
Yeah, Coach was talking about that today.
Well, Reno, thanks for taking some time out of your night to join us. We look forward to seeing how you and the Explorers do for the rest of the year, and we'll check in. We're going to be following you guys, and we'll see if we can check in with you and maybe some of your Explorer teammates as the season progresses. So good luck this week against Stowe.
Thank you. Have a nice night. Thanks for having me.
You too. Thanks, Reno. Good luck this week.
Yeah, have a good time watching football.
We always do.
No, always do. Is sophomore running back from Hudson, Reno Ferri, again, 18 carries, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had over 110 yards on the return game, including a 77-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And you heard it there. You heard him. I mean, he said that they were in practice and in film, they thought they could exploit something on the Cleveland Heights side from the special teams side of things, and they took full advantage of that with 2 long kickoff returns. One of them answered a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So, they gave up a touchdown defense, and then Reno and the coaches and the kickoff return units, they house one themselves, and it's as if, just to even that right up. That I can tell you as a former special teams assistant coach, when you're able to house one, that the thing called Uncle Mo or momentum, that will change very, very quickly. And that's something that the stats nerds who look at computers can't quantify because they're not there. That is a very, very that play. All special teams plays are huge. That is and being able to house one right after giving up a touchdown defense it puts you over in that respect. So, so congratulations to Reno and the Hudson Explorers getting their first win over a very, very good Cleveland Heights team, and we'll see what they do against Stowe Monroe Falls this week. All right, let's shift over to you know what? I forgot to give the Player of the Week nominee for the Cleveland West Conference. The Cleveland West Conference Player of the Week nominee for the Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance Player of the Week contest is Lakewood quarterback Avery Holt. Again, just a tremendous effort all around. He had 3 total touchdowns and an absolute monsoon. It was against a very evenly matched opponent, and it happened to be in one of our featured games of the week too. So in my book, that puts him over the edge. I will recognize that Turner Delata had a very, very good game for Buckeye, 5 total touchdowns as well. But people from Buckeye may think I'm just not choosing you guys. Quite honestly, I know Buckeye's going to be scoring a ton of points coming up here in the next few weeks. So Buckeye's going to get their due. I promise you that. I promise you they will. But Avery Holt gets the nod for Lakewood here.
Yeah.
All right. So Rob, why don't you take over where we're at for the Player of the Week contest?
All right.
Since our EVP of social media is fighting the good fight right now.
Yeah, and I'll put it up on the screen for everybody to see. The Week 3 Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week, Owen Singleton of Olmsted Falls, Rowan Klein of Revere, Avery Holt of Lakewood, and Austin Van Huss of Menor. And there were 161 votes, over 2,000 views on our poll. And Owen Singleton of Olmsted Falls ran away with this one. 67.1% of the vote goes to Owen Singleton of Olmsted Falls. Then it was Avery Holt of Lakewood with 16.8%. And then Austin Van Huss of Menor with 10.6%, and Rowan Klein of Revere. So I want to thank everyone for their votes. And remember, every week we do a Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week, which they get a little grab bag. And this week's gift card, or actually this year's gift card, is a $20 gift card to Chipotle. So I know you can't go wrong really with Chipotle gift cards, and they get a certificate. And the new thing is, we're getting Sports on Tap and Raymond Felton State Farm Player of the Week T-shirts. So we're getting those.
Whoa!
Yeah, so whoever wins Player of the Week will receive a T-shirt in their bag. But those haven't come in yet, so we're kind of on a little bit of a back order. So I have told players that have won, don't expect them the same week like we were doing. It might be a little bit, and I will message each player and let them know when I send those bags out once we get the T-shirts. So those are kind of being made here, and we should be getting some probably in hopefully by the end of this week once we get those going. So yeah, that's
You're telling me that we're in the merch game now?
Yeah. And we got to thank Mecco in I think they're out of Elyria. They've worked with us. They make all of our T-shirts here. I'm on the wrong thing. T-shirts, hats, and all of our apparel. And they're a sponsor for Sports on Tap coming up this season. And they're making all the T-shirts and some of our merchandise as well for this season. So I want to thank them for really being a part of our coverage. And we're working with them now to get their logo and everything, and it's a little bit of a process, but it's exciting, and I'm happy for the kids too. We can't thank Mehco. It's MEHCO. You can go to their website, and they have a lot of great stuff if you're looking for apparel, embroidery, hats, shirts. I mean, they have anything. I mean, you want to promote your business with pens, bags, pencils, stress balls. I know everybody's stressed. Yeah, a little everything. So it's kind of cool. Very excited.
Very good. Congratulations to Owen Singleton. He is, again, the winner of the Week 3 Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance Player of the Week contest. And we thank Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance and Mecco for teaming to get our Players of the Week a very nice gift bag. I'll tell you what, if everyone's as happy as here's your obligatory Sean Evilsizer mention of the week. If everyone's excited about winning Player of the Week as Sean Evilsizer was last year, that'd be fantastic.
That was awesome. And yeah, we might.
I was very excited.
In their grab bag, we might put something in there. If they're excited to take a picture and send it to us so we could put it on our show. I think that would make for a pretty cool little Monday night show to show our winner from the previous week, because it is special. These kids have put some really great performances in. And, a lot of votes going through. This week was a little bit of a shorter week than we had last week, but still everybody came through and voted, and the SWC representing 2 out of 3 weeks so far.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that this Cleveland West Conference came in second this time.
That's right.
I know we should be shooting for first, but we got to start somewhere. So, props to Lakewood, and props to Lakewood for getting Avery up into the top 2 there. All right, that's going to wrap it up for our coverage of Week 3. We will, as we normally do, we'll be coming out and covering some games. We are in conference play now, starting in Week 4. So I will I think Josh has already mentioned where Josh sent us a note while he's on assignment. He will be covering the battle for the Golden Shoe between Brecksville and North Royalton. It is a Suburban Natty conference contest there.
Nice. That'll be a good one.
Where else are we going?
Where are you going?
Well, guys, I mean, the weather didn't help me last Friday night with all that rain coming down, but I'm hoping this week will be a better weather week for me and the rest of you guys. Please. But yeah, I can't wait to kick off the Greater Cleveland Conference schedule and all of our conferences. It will be a meat grinder every week, but I can't wait to go back to my alma mater, Medina, because that's where I'll be heading to, Ken Duke Stadium in Medina, to see the Menor Cardinals at 3-0. They'll be taking on the Medina Bees as they look to bounce back from that 51-7 loss to Wadsworth. But I can't wait to get back to my alma mater. It's a special time, not only just like for the people I grew up going to high school, but just like the support that I get from there. It's just phenomenal. And I just can't wait to get back to my alma mater and see the Bees playing against the Menor Cardinals on Friday night.
Oh, man.
I know, me and Sean, we might have a Bees thing going on.
It ain't me, bro. That's Brecksville. You got to deal with Brecksville. And
Brecksville might be angry now. Oh, man.
Well, there's only one way to settle it. Seems like those two teams should probably play and rekindle an old Pioneer Conference rivalry from the 90s and 2000s there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yo, Rob, where you going?
Well, I'm going to go down the street here, and it's going to be the battle of undefeateds. It was tough because I did cover we covered Midview and Amherst. We have not covered North Ridgeville yet, so I'm going to cover North Ridgeville hosting Olmsted Falls in a game of 3-0s there. A lot of good games in the Southwestern Conference, and that one last year 10-3. I'm excited to see what this year is going to offer up, but that should be a great game. Again, Olmsted Falls traveling to the North Ridgeville Rangers for a Southwestern Conference bash. Let's go.
Well, that's a fantastic choice, Rob. Really glad that you're jumping in the old Griswold family truckster and going down the road to North Ridgeville. And you know what? I think you should, if it's raining or snowing or whatever, I'm going to make you walk. You're walking to that stadium just to get your steps in, big boy. But me, myself, and I, your boy, Professor Hype, I gotta see this Revere team. I gotta see if it's legit.
Whoa.
You know, Noah texted me yesterday and said, you got to go to Aurora. And I said, Noah, I got to look at the schedule. And then I looked at the schedule. I was like, oh, crap, Noah's right. So I'm going down to Revere, to the Minutemen. I'm going to watch Aurora come in to take on Revere. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a highly, highly entertaining matchup. And I also am I'm interested to see if this becomes a basketball game in a score fest or a knockdown, drag-out defensive battle. And I got a feeling it's going to be the latter. But I'm really excited. It's my first time ever going to Revere, so I've never been. So, you know, hey, when you see me walking the sidelines, don't be afraid to yell at me and say, hey, Professor Hype, what's up? But, you know, I'm just one person, guys.
Hey, Sean, now that you're getting video, just go in the stands with the fans. You know, show the fans what they want. Professor Hype.
No.
You know, get some video of the crowd. Jump, maybe you'll crowd surf.
That's insane.
You're Professor Hype.
First off, I'm not going into the stands unprotected. I'm a valuable member of this podcast, Rob.
You certainly are.
I'm not going to go in there. I'm not going to go in there unprotected. I don't have my security. I don't have the Pope Mobile around me. I'm on the sidelines, walking the sidelines, getting them angles, bro. That's what I do. But yeah, I'm excited to go to that. But you know, it's one thing if you can't be at every game.
Yeah.
Why not go to YouTube.com and see all of our fantastic highlights that we produce? We bring to you, the fans, to see the great atmospheres and everything that we do on every Friday night. We can be found on YouTube at Sports on Tap, smash the like button, do the subscribe stuff. I'm losing my voice talking about this because I don't understand why, if you're not following us, you're simply not informed. You're not informed about the best going on in high school sports.
Well, we have been trying out a new social media platform, TikTok, for all the high school
I'm
kids.
not dancing, Rob. I'm not dancing. I refuse.
No, you don't have to dance. I put up just the big
Say
hits,
that now.
the big highlights from our featured games of the week. I've had you guys send me some clips that you thought were big hits, big plays. I put them on TikTok, and I mean, it's been going crazy. I mean, I've had almost 2,000 views on a few of the clips already, it's something different, but we're trying it out and see what we can do. Reaching maybe some of the younger kids that love their TikTok. So, go to TikTok and look up Sports on Tap, but go to YouTube and look us up as well and subscribe so you can see all these shows.
I'm not doing a dance, Rob.
Doesn't get any better than that, everybody. So just to recap, this week, week 4, Josh will be at the Suburban Natties battle for the Golden Shoe. Brecksville against North Royalton. Noah will be the Greater Cleveland Conference. Medina versus Mentor. We'll see if Medina can recover from, quite honestly, an absolute shellacking they received from Wadsworth. Olmsted Falls and Ridgeville, right in Rob's backyard for the SWC. And Sean going right down to about 303 to see Revere versus Aurora in a battle of Suburban League American Division undefeated. As you mentioned, Sean, make sure you follow us on YouTube. Someone who has followed us on YouTube, a friend of mine who I played football with in Brunswick, Mike Fowler. His son is a junior at Patriot High School in Northern Virginia.
Wow.
They had a bye week this week, but they had a pretty big week 1 victory. He's a tight end on a two tight end set. Helped their running back committed to Villanova.
Wow.
For multiple scores. So Jack Fowler is his son. He's also got another son who apparently hit a growth spurt. Mike's not that tall, but both of his boys are tall. So
they're feeding him something good down there.
No doubt. No, they're both. I mean, he's from Brunswick, and his wife Colleen's from Medina. So they are Ohio born and bred, and they certainly they love their Cleveland sports. And Mike is an avid viewer of Sports on Tap. He likes keeping a hold of the high school scene here.
Mike, thanks for watching, buddy.
Good luck to
we appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Good luck to Jack Fowler for Patriot High School of Northern Virginia, and his other son Dan in middle school as well. All right, that's going to do it for the Week 3 recap of the high school football recap show presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. Again, you've watched this live on the YouTube channel. It's Sports on Tap. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, X at SOT Podcast to get live updates for all 4 of these games coming up on Friday. Our website is sportsontappodcast.com. We're going to start, now that we start to get some more stats accrued here and standings, we're going to start having a lot more information on the webpage as well. We are on Threads at SOT_podcast. We are also on Spotify. If you can't watch this and want to listen to us, we're on Spotify as well. And for any comments, questions, concerns, pronunciations, statistics, suggestions, make sure you send us an email at sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. We want to thank sophomore running back from Hudson, Reno Ferri, for joining us again. We look forward to seeing who has a tremendous effort this coming week and who we can get onto the show next week. We may have room for 2 guests next week now that our conference schedule is kicked in. And we are covering basically half the games we were before. So try to get some more. We'll see if we can get some more student athletes on as well. And the Power 10 will start after week 4. But that will be exclusively on our X page at SOT Podcast. So that'll be a social media thing going forward. We won't really talk about that on the show, but it will be on our Twitter page or X page. For Rob Troutman, Professor Hype Sean Duffy, Dr. Hoops Noah Jacobson, our EVP of social media content, Josh Sheffy. My name is Ed Dick. This is the Sports on Tap High School Football Recap Show presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. We will see you on the other side.
See ya.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.